Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Village Board for January 18th, 2021. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk Simpson, roll call, please.
Trustee Rufato?
Here.
Trustee Kruger?
Present.
Trustee Vogel?
Here.
Trustee Papantos?
Present.
Trustee Lang?
Here.
Trustee Vito?
Here.
President Horker?
Here. And just as a reminder, we are conducting this meeting tonight by Zoom in light of the ongoing pandemic and continuing declaration of disaster by the governor. I have determined that in-person meetings are not practical or prudent at this time due to the ongoing public health emergency. So, having said that, you have before you the minutes of the regular meeting of January 4th, 2021. I need a motion for their approval.
So moved.
Trustee Pantos, second.
Second. Kruger.
Trustee Kruger, I saw your hand. Clerk Simpson, roll call, please.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Mr. Svandelis, changes to the agenda?
There are no changes this evening.
Thank you, sir. Clerk Simpson, proclamations.
Resolution granting the 2021 George Hieber Citizenship Award to Mike and Kathy Burns. The Board of Trustees of the Village of Wheeling has established the George Hieber Citizenship Award to encourage good citizenship by recognizing outstanding contributions to the Wheeling community. The President and Board of Trustees have chosen Mike and Kathy Burns as this year's recipient of the annual award. Mike and Kathy Burns, resident of Wheeling for many years, have provided volunteer services to the Village of Wheeling by serving Thanksgiving meals, wrapping Christmas presents during the Shop with the Cops event, and portraying Santa and Mrs. Claus in the village lights around Wheeling annual holiday lighting celebration. Mike Burns is a retired Wheeling firefighter, served on the Wheeling Plan Commission from 2010 to 2013, and is a member of the Wheeling Knights of Columbus and Wheeling Helping Hands, a nonprofit group which partners with the village police and fire department to provide clothing, food, and other donations to those in need in the Wheeling community. Mike and Kathy Burns are consistently willing to help whenever asked, take much pride in their services, and show a commitment to making Wheeling a better, safer, and kinder place to live. The Board of Trustees therefore regards it as fitting and proper that Mike and Kathy Burns be the recipients of the 5th Annual George Hieber Citizenship Award. Therefore, be it resolved by the President and Board of Trustees of the Village of Wheeling, Counties of Cook and Lake, State of Illinois, that the 2021 George Hieber Citizenship Award is hereby granted to Mike and Kathy Burns in recognition of their exemplary citizenship, with the thanks of the Board of Trustees for their services.
Thank you. The George Hieber Citizenship Award was created in honor of a longtime resident, George Hieber, and his many contributions to the civic life in Wheeling over many years and in a number of capacities. Each year, the Village Board chooses a resident or a group or partnership of residents to receive this award based on their significant contributions to the Wheeling community. This year's award goes to Mike and Kathy Burns. As Clerk Simpson just read, Mike and Kathy have contributed to Wheeling in many different respects for several years. Some of their service has been through specific volunteer groups such as Wheeling Helping Hands and in informal commission roles, but they have also contributed more broadly to the community and are always willing to quickly jump in and lend a hand wherever is needed. Mike is also currently serving as a Wheeling Park District Commissioner. We are grateful to Mike and Kathy for their good citizenship and their commitment to making Wheeling such an exceptional place. There you are. I have too many screens. You guys, having citizens like you in the village really does help a lot. It means a lot to know that there are people out there that your neighbors can turn to or friends can turn to and say, hey, this guy needs a hand, this lady might need a hand, and I'd like to thank you for all you do in the community. And normally there's food, and there's a microphone. But if you'd like to just say something and, you know, thank you so much for your contributions. You want to introduce yourselves and say a few words?
I'm Kathy.
And I'm Mike, and we want to thank you. Thank you, Elaine. Thank you, Patrick, President Horker, and Board of Trustees so much. We're really honored to receive the George Hieber Citizenship Award. George is a friend and was a co-worker of ours at Friday Night Fish Fries, where he was the chief cook and we were the chief dishwashers. And he was a good citizen and a good man, and we miss him. We were also, when I received the email from Lisa, we were surprised and humbled to even be nominated, but to be told that we were receiving the award. Because we know that when we volunteer for anything in town, that we don't do it alone, that our friends and our neighbors are right there besides us, including members of the village board. In fact, most of what we do is preceded by a phone call from Dave Vogel saying, Mike, are you and Kathy available and able to, and fill in the blank? And if at all possible, of course, we say yes, because we know that Dave and Becky will be there doing good works, and we're happy to lend a hand. So again, we're very honored to receive the George Hieber Citizenship Award as just two examples of the many citizens in Wheeling who are willing to volunteer their time and do whatever they can to make our community better. Thank you.
Thank you for all you do. Any?
President Harker?
Trustee Papantos.
Thank you. Besides everything it's been read, I remember often, walking my dog when I still had her out by the library, and I would run into Mike walking the neighbor's dog because his neighbor just couldn't do it. And I think that's part of volunteerism. You help the community and you help those right around you. And I always saw that, and always just such a smile. You never expected anything from it. So thank you for everything you do to the community.
Thank you, Mary.
And I would like to say something.
Trustee Rufato, of course.
Back when our kids were younger, Mike and Kathy were very, very active at St. Joe's as coaches and anything else that needed to be done there. But I specifically remember them as coaches because Mike coached basketball or whatever grade he could do, and Kathy for many, many years coached volleyball through some very interesting times. But I knew that I could always depend upon them to be there. And Mike, I think you coached teams that none of your kids were involved with sometimes, and Kathy too. And you just did it out of the goodness of your heart and for St. Joe's. And thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Trustee
We love
Rufato.
every kid we ever coached, Jim. How are they?
They're all great.
President Harker?
Trustee Vogel.
Yes. Mike mentioned George was the cook and him and Kathy were the dishwashers. And that was kind of Mike's character. He was hiding in the kitchen, but working his tail off. Him and Kathy both. Didn't look for credit. Half the time wasn't even seen there, so a lot of people didn't realize what he did. And he's done this for many, many functions at St. Joe's and other places. The police officers' breakfast and the police officers' pack camp. They're there doing the dishes again and cleaning up. And nobody sees them. They're not out there serving the public, so the public don't recognize them as part of the volunteer base. And it's just gratifying for us to know that he's there and Kathy's there with him, available for anything they're asked to do. So we really do appreciate it, and thank you both.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Trustee Vogel. Yes.
strange.
Yeah, this just doesn't work. But thank you guys for, all you've done and all you continue to do.
President Horker,
Yes.
I have an idea. How about we all stand? They deserve standing O.
Sure.
Wow.
And now we can see all of your belly buttons.
And we're all wearing pants.
That's why he did it. Thank you guys for everything, and we have no cookies or cakes or to share, but, we do have to go on with the rest of our meeting. Now, Trustee Kruger, did you want to say something? Or you're...
No, I'm all good. Maybe we should send them cookies or cupcakes.
Ooh, Kathy seems...
Well, you look at it this way, there's no cookies or cupcakes, but there's no dishes to do either, Mike and Kathy.
Silver lining. Thank you very much, and should move on. Thank you, guys. Clerk Simpson, Proclamation Martin Luther King Day. Martin
Luther King Jr. Day of Service, January 18th, 2021. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. devoted his life to advancing equality, social justice, and opportunity for all, and challenged all Americans to participate in the never-ending work of building a more perfect union. Dr. King's teaching can continue to guide and inspire us in addressing challenges in our communities. The King Holiday and Service Act, enacted in 1994, designated the King Holiday as a national day of volunteer service and charged the corporations for national community services with leading this effort. Since 1994, millions of Americans have been inspired by the life and work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to serve their neighbors and communities on the King Holiday. Serving on the King Holiday is an appropriate way to honor Dr. King, meet local and national needs, bring our citizens together, and strengthen our communities and nations. The King Day of Service offers an opportunity for Americans to give back to their communities on the holiday and make an ongoing commitment to service throughout the year. King Day of Service projects are organized by a wide range of nonprofits, private businesses, and other organizations across the nation. Citizens of Wheeling have an opportunity to participate in events throughout Northern Illinois on the King Day of Service, as well as to create and implement community service projects where they identify the need. Patrick Horker, President of the Village of Wheeling, proclaimed the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday as a day of service in Wheeling and calls upon the people of Wheeling to pay tribute to the life and works of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. through participation in community service projects on Martin Luther King Day and throughout the year.
Thank you. Like pretty much everything else that's happened during these past few months, this year's Martin Luther King Day of Service is a little unusual. Because of the pandemic, the number of people in urgent need of help is much greater than it would be in a normal year, and at the same time, the need for social distancing is still disrupting our usual activities, including volunteer work. I would like to strongly encourage everyone in our community to not miss out on Dr. King's call to service this year. This is a tough time. Although we're closer to the end of this global ordeal than we are to the beginning, many challenging weeks still lie ahead. And just about all of us, with a few saintly exceptions, are angry, frightened, and tired. And we have good, legitimate reasons to feel this way. But this might seem like a time to withdraw. It's actually really the opposite. For one thing, your help is greatly valued and badly needed. For another, at least in my experience, there's not many things that'll make you feel better about yourself and more in control of your circumstances than simply lending a hand to someone in need. In a well-known sermon that he gave 2 months before he died, Dr. King defined greatness in terms of service and said that everybody can be great because everybody can serve. Don't miss out on this chance to be great, and find a safe way to help your favorite charity, which I hope will be one that serves our community. Or if you're looking for volunteer opportunities, visit the AmeriCorps website at AmeriCorps, that's AmeriCorps.gov, and find a charity or religious outreach group, or check the village's website at www.wheelingil.gov to find vacancies on the commissions. Really, if you're capable of spending some time and helping someone, even with something as simple as walking their dog, or even just listening, it does help in these times, and it is serving. It's we are all capable of that simple greatness. So, thank you. Clerk Simpson, that brings us to,
Citizens,
pardon?
citizens' concerns and comments.
Yes, it does.
Members of the public may address the board with comments regarding issues relevant to village business. No citizen shall speak for more than 5 minutes without consent of the board. Members of the general public who wish to address the board must sign the request to speak form prior to the commencement of the public meeting. Are there any voicemail messages?
There is one voicemail message that will be played presently.
So, well, I suppose I should read this.
Hi, good evening.
Or not.
Hi, good evening. This is Steve Neff. I'm a longtime Wheeling resident. I'm a founder and member of Citizens Against Runway Expansion, or CARE, and recently served 5 years on the airport's noise committee until it was abolished this past December. It seems like yesterday when CARE submitted a petition with over 1,000 signatures for an advisory referendum question. Shall the village of Wheeling approve of runway expansion beyond the existing roadways bordering the airport? Yes or no? The 2019 ballot referendum generated around 1,700 no's to 450 yeses, not even close. I would again like to thank this board for directing the airport to stand down with their expansion plans. I would like to also publicly thank President Horker for appointing CARE founding member Steve Berman to the airport board. My last public comments recommended restoring the airport's intergovernmental agreement to the original version, putting back the line under goals and objectives to limit runways to their existing length. I am hopeful that the board will follow through on this change soon. I would also like to comment on David Kolzak's mean-spirited diatribe from the last village board meeting citizens' concerns and comments. It would appear that Mr. Kolzak has an issue with our village manager receiving a pay raise. He also lambasted our village board as well for taking our village manager's recommendations, even went as far as calling the board members puppets. It wasn't so long ago that Mr. Kolzak was removed from the board at the airport. Seems like this was when a lot of his animosity started. I am not privy as to why he was booted off. I can tell you he was very insensitive to noise-weary residents. When during an airport board meeting, he callously told the residents, if you don't like the noise, you should take Ambien to sleep or take a bath in your house and move. During his tenure at the airport, he was also a driving force for runway expansion. He was on the other end of the strings in 2015, when the airport made Charlie Priester CEO. We all know the Priester family has significant holdings at the airport. I would also like to remind residents, it was not so long ago that a village-owned police interceptor was used to lead his family's funeral processions. This was not sanctioned by the village. Somebody should do some reflection. From my view, the state of the village is good. As far as our village manager's raise is concerned, he's earned it. Remember the adage, you get what you pay for. I believe our board is doing an excellent job. I am in full support of President Horker as well as trustees Rafato, Papantos, and Kruger. We need to put divisiveness behind us in order to make Wheeling a better place. Thank you.
Any others?
No others.
Thank you, Mr. Neff. Staff reports. Chief Dunn.
Good evening, President Horker and members of the board. I'd like to report tonight on the new laws that were passed that went into effect January 1st, these new Illinois laws that the legislatures worked on last year. And there weren't very many. Through the pandemic, they weren't very active. One of the first laws that they passed was the use of DNA for missing person cases. Now, we've always been able to use DNA, but I think this law specifically addresses what we have to do with the DNA at the end of the case. where we have to dispose of it. But we can collect DNA from family members and really use whatever science we can use to help locate people. But at the end of the case, we have to dispose of it and it can't remain on file. The second thing is the Survivors Confidentiality Act, and this is House Bill 2818. It allows survivors of sexual assault and stalking to keep their home addresses confidential to reduce the risk that the attacker may locate them. And I think this is one of the ways they've been addressing that they're starting to address FOIA. And one of the, you don't know what you did till you did it. And, with people able to get a copy of police reports and information and the offenders and whatnot, they're starting to address some of those issues. The third legislation they passed was price capping insulin at $100 for a 30-day supply, and that was for state-regulated health insurance plans. And last but not least was the dollar increase on minimum wage issue, and there'll be $1 a year raise up until 2025 when we can finally get to $15 an hour in Illinois as the minimum wage. And finally, I know you may have questions about the new Law Enforcement Reform Act that was passed at 4 or 5 in the morning the other night. And there was a lot that went into that. And there was some negotiations at the end between all parties that were involved with it. And the bill that came out gave a little bit to all sides and addressed a lot of people's concerns. And I've been told by many legislators that there'll be trailer bills between now and July 1st when the laws will go into effect. So when I know what those trailer bills are and when we have a full reflection of the entire bill, I'll be able to report back to you with a little bit better intelligence about what it means for us and what it means for Wheeling. One of the most important parts of it was, of course, our body-worn cameras, which you were ahead of the curve and must have anticipated what was happening, and we have them, and we'll be starting to deploy those shortly. We're working on the technology of getting them out to all the officers. End of report.
Thank you, Chief Dunn.
President Horton, this is Trustee Papantos. May I ask a question?
Go right ahead.
Just going back to the body cams, I know we had approved it for a budget last November and talked about it. About how long do you expect before they will be in the field? Even though there's no requirement until at least July, right?
Right, that is correct. I anticipate by the end of February, we should have everybody be wearing by the end of February.
Thank you.
They were just delivered 2 weeks ago, and we are in the process of getting our software lined up, and then the officers outfitted and equipped with the right base for the camera to be clipped onto.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Clerk Simpson, consent agenda.
Item 11, consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered after all other agenda items. 11A, resolution granting the 2021 George Hieber Citizenship Award to Mike and Kathy Burns. 11B, resolution rejecting all bids for large meter testing and approving rebid per the request of participating municipal partnering initiative communities. Item 11C, resolution approving a board record keeping report. Item 11D, resolution authorizing acceptance of the Northwest Municipal Conference Suburban Purchasing Cooperative previously bid contract with Cal One Incorporated related to professional telecommunication services in the amount of $42,602.40.
Do we have any questions or comments? If we do not, I would be looking for a motion to approve.
So moved, Kruger.
Motion, Trustee Kruger, second, Trustee Vogel. Saw his hand first, Mr. Rafato, sorry. Clerk Simpson, roll call.
Trustee Rafato?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Thank you, everyone. 13A, Clerk Simpson.
13A, new business, all this tonight, okay. Discussion, major site plan concept review for FedEx ground parking lot, 1101 Chaddick Drive.
Mr. Spondilis.
Thank you. Before you this evening is a major site plan concept review. This process has been codified to create equity between all projects that come before the board for discussion and review. This means that there is a formal process to this evening's conversation. It will begin with me reading some language that identifies precisely what this process is, followed by Community Development Director Ross Clicker providing a project overview and introduction of the petitioner, the presentation by the petitioner, and Director Clicker providing any additional zoning, special use, and site plan concerns. At the end of the conversation, the board will be asked for their consensus on the following question. Is the board in favor of the concept plan for the proposed FedEx major site plan redevelopment? The current request is for a non-binding approval of the proposed major site plan alteration. The feedback of the board will be used by the development team as a guide in the preparation of the formal development plan. The outcome of this evening shall not constitute a formal approval or denial of the application. The decision by the board tonight is non-binding and shall not prevent the applicant from moving forward with a formal application. Director Clicker, if you would please introduce the project and the petitioner this evening. And you are on mute.
Knew I was going to do that. Thank you. Yes, what you have before you tonight is a request from FedEx to utilize the property at 1101 Chaddick Drive to build out the remainder of the property. There's an existing employee parking lot on this site, and they wish to expand it to also include not only employees but delivery vehicles and semi-tractor trailers and trailer staging. The project would add 15 auto parking stalls, 43 dual-use van semi-parking stalls, and 70 trailer stalls. Would also create 2 detention facilities and a series of retaining walls due to the change in grade that is being proposed. Sliding entry gates are proposed for the truck parking area and for the pedestrian, and a pedestrian gate is proposed for the new employee parking lot. A sidewalk will be extended along the frontage of the property, connecting to the existing sidewalk to the north, and the applicant has provided a preliminary landscape plan that will be utilized, will be reviewed to determine compliance with village code. And with that, the petitioners are on the call and are willing to answer any questions.
Trustee Lang.
Thank you. So this question actually is for John to start with. I may have missed it on the report, and I can't remember from the past, but is there some sort of, because of the amount of trucks, and now we're adding more trucks to our roads, is there some sort of impact fee that was already added or included when FedEx first came to Wheeling that you can recall?
There is none that I can recall. I will absolutely check the file to be sure, but there is none that I recall.
I don't think there is. Okay, and so I'm just checking if it is enough truck traffic that is going to be added that perhaps we might want to look at an impact fee. I don't know. In fairness, I don't know how we have done that in the past with other trucking firms and so on. So I just want to bring it to your attention so at least we look at it.
Will do. Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you, Trustee Lang. Trustee Kruger, you'll be next. Mr. Ferrolo, you were trying to say something?
Yeah, I said there is not an impact fee associated with this particular development. I think Trustee Lang, I think you might have heard that.
Yep, I did.
Okay. Thank you. Trustee Kruger.
Thank you, Mr. President. Hello to the petitioners. Just wanted to, I have a couple of questions about the site plan. It looks like that the perimeter fence that's proposed is an 8-foot wood fence. Can you confirm?
Yeah, this is Chris Miller. I'm with Skinell Properties. We're assisting FedEx in the redevelopment. It's not wood. No, it would be two types of fence. So the frontage along Chaddick would be the kind of wrought iron style that is at the existing facility along the frontage. And then where it's interior and not as visible, we would use chain link with black vinyl or vinyl coated, with, so it's black in color.
Okay, and is that for privacy on the other three sides?
No, more for security, not so much for privacy.
Okay, I do like, I was gonna ask because there was a mention in my packet that said something about ornamental metal, and I'm familiar with your site on Peterson, and that gating and fencing is gorgeous, and I like the idea now that you're gonna carry some of that over to this other site that's around the corner. I believe it was on the landscape plan, there was a little section on the second page called goose barrier. And it says, the plan says something about poultry netting. I'm wondering if poultry netting is just a different way to say chicken wire. And I do believe the village has a code that prohibits chicken wires. So what is all of that?
No, so that second page is referring to, for the detention areas, we plant native forbs and grasses, so small little native plants that sit in a wet condition like a detention area. And while they get established, we need to protect them from being eaten by geese. And so it's a temporary barrier until the plants can establish themselves. And that usually is in place for 6 months or so until, I don't remember exactly what I've written on the spec, but it's in temporarily until the plants can get established. And then it's
very good. That's good to know. Thank you. And the other question that I had, again, about fencing, in my packet, and I'm certain with your talks with staff, they seem to have some concerns about the internal fencing that you have proposed. And I guess I want to understand a little bit more about, perhaps Director Clicker, you could talk about what staff's concern is with the internal fencing.
Certainly. Some of the concerns with the internal fencing is, quite honestly, we just think it to be a bit excessive. If you look at the plan, the way it's laid out right now, there are landscaped areas that are completely surrounded by fence, and we have questions as to how that landscaping would be maintained. Additionally, the basins themselves are also completely fenced off, and we don't necessarily believe that the basins themselves need to be completely fenced off if they are either one in a perimeter area that is in a secured area, or if they're outside the secured area. For example, the detention basin to the north would be adjacent to an existing detention basin, which is currently not fenced, and we don't believe that necessarily that basin would need to be fenced in.
So I guess to the petitioners, you're willing to work with staff on some of those internal fencing concerns? I personally am not concerned about it, since there will be other, perimeter fencing that will likely not be seen, and I guess I don't care what you do on the inside of the site. But yeah, so are you guys okay with working with staff on some of those fencing concerns on the inside of the site?
Yeah, and we actually, in this discussion, we've noted probably 2 or 3 short sections we think we could probably eliminate. To hit on the comment about the detention basins, as a kind of a corporate policy, FedEx is kind of their loss prevention and safety folks really prefer to fence all detention facilities, just for, for not necessarily for their own selves, but for the sake of the general public. I know these are very shallow, hold water for only for a short period of time, but just sort of as kind of a corporate policy, they prefer to keep those fenced just for safety purposes. Large companies can tend to draw on attention of lawsuits if accidents do happen. So they just like to be careful with that. And then on the internal side, you might have noticed in the plan, there are 2 kind of distinct areas, sorry, 3. And if you hear my cat meowing, I apologize. Every time I get on a call, he's nowhere to be found and shows up and he's meowing. So the trailer function area is fenced separately from the van and tractor functioning area. And then the auto functioning area is unfenced. And there's a distinction internally as to, I guess, who sort of has permission within the organization to be in certain areas. So the trailers, could house packages that are outbound, and just for security and loss prevention purposes, we want to keep that fenced separately. The van and tractor drivers, depending on who that person is, may or may not be a direct FedEx employee. So again, it's just a lot of it is for security of packages, and then also, as I've referred to on the detention facilities, is more just a safety kind of precaution. So,
thank you, Chris. I'm sorry. That's a great segue to my last question, which is about security. I was curious if any of the vans or semis would have packages in them while they're parked on this site, and if so, what are your security proposals?
Yeah, so correct. So the trailer parking area, a trailer in that lot could or could not be loaded. It just depends on the time of day, the function. It could be loaded at the facility and waiting there to be picked up to ship off to another facility later, or it could be there holding a package until it can be unloaded later, or it could be an empty one that's just been unloaded. So it really could be any of the above in that tractor area, the trailer area. Therefore, it is fenced, gate controlled, lit, so that the security, I believe, I'm 99% sure, they'll have security cameras out there as well. They almost always do on these remote lots. Again, so it's all for purpose of security. So,
fair enough. I thank you all very much for your answers.
Thank you, Trustee Kruger. Trustee Rufato.
Thank you, President Horker. So what does this, I see that you're adding 15 car stalls and 43, trailer stalls and 70 trailer stalls. What type of, is it going to be a consistent increase in traffic throughout the day, or is it going to be similar, and I don't know what it is right now, similar to what the traffic patterns are right now?
Overall traffic patterns should be unchanged. I don't believe they're planning any major shifting changes. The normal, flow of packages in and out of a FedEx facility is not, there's usually a distinct time period where they're bringing packages in, sorting, and then offloading. And then obviously in the morning is a typical time for the vans to be loaded and then out for their delivery. And then, the return period is, again, evening or early afternoon, depending on the time of year. So generally the pattern should stay the same as the current, just, in a slightly larger volume than previously.
Okay. Thank you. That was all.
Thank you. Trustee Vogel.
Yeah, two questions. Well, one comment. I actually like the fencing around the retention. I agree with you for safety reasons. That should probably be there. The other question is, not being familiar with the layout, do you have a fueling station on the grounds now?
No on-site fueling. That's very limited in FedEx's network right now. There are a few facilities that do on-site fueling, but that's actually primarily for the over-the-road trucks, not for the vans. And again, it's just sort of how they delegate who, what employees are able to use that. And generally speaking, that's for over-the-road trucks only. And this facility does not have a need for that. So they just use, whatever public facilities are available for fueling.
Okay, and you'll encourage them to use fueling.
Sure. Yeah, I think naturally you just kind of know that they're, a person's most likely to probably fuel up on their way out or the way in, and being near their destination is the most likely source. But they don't have any, that I'm aware of, any sort of national accounts that kind of dictates where and what vendors they use. But just kind of rule of thumb is probably they would most use something close to their either beginning point or destination point.
All right, thank you.
If there are no other questions or comments, would you like to repeat the question, Mr. Svandelis, please?
Sure. Looking for each trustee to provide a yes or a no to the following question. Is the board in favor of the concept plan for the proposed FedEx major site plan redevelopment?
Clerk Simpson, you want to just give a roll call?
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Oh, and on the fences, my personal opinion is that if you if you maintain them, I don't care where you put them, on them, you know, inside your property. Mr. Svandulis, what comes next?
That's it. They will work with staff to get the plan to the Plan Commission as soon as the plans allow them to.
Excellent. Well, thank you, guys. Nice to
Thank
know.
you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Everybody.
Official communications. I actually would like to take a moment and thank the Park District. I'm sure Sue Stein is probably watching this, for allowing the village to do their meal distribution and pickup in front of the Chevy Chase there under the awning. I know it's just a little thing, but, you know, your taxing bodies can work together to make people's lives a little easier, can't we? So thank you to the Park District. Anyone else? Trustee Vito.
Yeah, I'd like to say something. So I was reading the papers this week, and I was a little taken back that I came off a little bit wrong in some of my comments last time regarding the manager and the salary when I said things like I had problems with him. What I meant was John and I have disagreed over the years and will disagree in the future. But if there was any inference that I don't trust his leadership or have any lack in his I don't have complete confidence in him, that couldn't be further from the truth. If I thought anything differently or thought he did a poor job or thought he needed to be replaced or didn't have confidence in him or was actually had problems, like I said, which I misspoke, I would have not voted for a raise, and I would not be quiet about keeping him on. So, John, I do have full confidence in you. That's why I'll defend you on social media with our president's wife, as I did this week, and will continue to do so if and when I have to. So I just wanted to clarify that. And next time my birthday falls on a village board meeting, please have something controversial that I can get all hyper about, like, I don't know, if someone built a garage in 1968 that we want to tear down because we finally found out it was out of code. Something like that. This is no fun. So that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments and happy birthday.
Thank you.
Try to plan something for you. Well, if I'm here.
Trustee Horker?
Trustee Papantos. And I see
Thank you.
Trustee Vogel, I guess, too.
No.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay, just a couple things. Happy birthday to Trustee Vito and belated birthday to Trustee Lang. Busy month in January. And I almost, succeeded in what I told you earlier, Joe. Anyway, one other thing that's come up and has been in the news is the vaccinations for COVID. The governor has changed the plans so that now those of us who are 65 and older will be eligible for the vaccine. And having had a discussion with Manager Svandulis, the village will try to get as much information as possible when it's available. Unfortunately, nothing's available right now to let residents know where to go, how to register or whatever, but as soon as we get something, we will let you know. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. No other.
Actually, President Harker?
Yes, Trustee Rufato.
Thank you. When Chief Dunn was talking about the new laws that were put into place in 2021, I want to bring up one that was, I think, enacted last year, but I haven't seen much publicity about it in that, and this really impacts the residents of our village, that I think it's either next year, 2022 or 2023, all homes will be required to have 10-year fire, whatchamacallit, can't think of the word I'm using.
Alarms?
Yeah, 10-year fire alarms in their home. Smoke detectors, thank you. I lost my train of thought. That are going to be required, I believe it's the beginning of next year. It was enacted, I think it went into law last year, but that is something that I know is going to impact the villages. So there's no more battery replacements. The smoke alarms will have to be these 10-year smoke alarms versus the battery replacement ones. if if the chief could look into that, I think that is something that's going to be coming in next year.
I will absolutely discuss with the chief and have a report back to you, and of course the public at the next meeting.
Great, thank you.
If there is nothing else, Elaine, Clerk Simpson?
I have nothing.
Okay. If there are no other comments from the board, we do have before you the bills from December 31st, 2020 through January 13th, 2021. I need a motion for their approval.
So moved, Papantos.
Give the motion to Papantos and the second to Trustee Vogel. Roll call, please.
Trustee Rafato?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. We have an executive session this evening for the purposes of review of minutes lawfully closed under the Open Meetings Act and pending probable and/or imminent litigation. So, I need a motion to recess into executive session and adjourn the regular meeting.
So moved.
Motion, Trustee Papantos, second.
Second.
Trustee Krueger. Clerk Simpson, roll call, please.
Trustee Rafato?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Good night, public. So now they have to sign off and sign back in?
Yes, everyone.